If someone came onto your property and destroyed all the plants or the trees, or just flat out trashed the area with litter, what would you do? Most likely you would call the police. You would want justice. Am I right? I mean, and you'd want it restored to how it was. But what about those that can't speak for themselves? Animals and plants can't call the cops when their habitat is destroyed, but we humans can help. But we humans have helped and can continue to help change this. And that is through the Federal Aid in Wildlife Restoration Act of 1937, also known as the Pittman-Robertson Act, which was established to preserve, conserve, and restore. I've been very involved with the Texas Brigades over the last 6 years. It is a wildlife conservation youth leadership program. And with that, and being passionate about hunting and fishing in the outdoors, I very much understand the impact that this can have, that this act could have. And in further research, I totally wholeheartedly agree that the Pittman-Robertson Act is one of the best ways to preserve, conserve, and restore our wildlands and wildlife. Do you want to continue to preserve, conserve, and restore our wildlands and wildlife? Well, allow me to elaborate. We need to be aware of what's right in front of us. There are unbalanced ecosystems, and many animals becoming threatened, endangered, and or extinct. And according to the weatherchannel.com, we are losing animals 1,000 to 10,000 times the natural rate. And the current crisis is caused solely by humans. We can stop the destruction and restore their habitats. Let's dig deeper into the Pittman-Robertson Act and the modernization of it. You may ask, who benefits from this? Well, everybody does, but most importantly, the animals do. And through the Pittman-Robertson Act, there have been many different conservation efforts and recovery programs that have been initiated. One of them being wolves restored into Yellowstone to help balance the deer and elk population. Another example would be the National Wild Turkey Federation and the improvement of turkey population over the years. In an article on June 17, 2017, they stated that turkeys had been declining at such a fast rate. In 1937, there were only 1.5 million, but now that has been restored to an astounding 7 million. As you can see, I have a turkey now. Also in this article, stated by Becky Humphreys, the Wildlife Restoration Act was landmark legislation 80 years ago that provided funding to all 50 states for conservation. It is still the largest source of funding for conservation and has led to the restoration of many species, including the wild turkey. We can continue to preserve, conserve, and restore. Landowners also benefit from this through tax relief as well as income from leasing, also through better land management. There are also programs out there that are offered by the government and the Farm Service Agency that can be beneficial to the landowners. Businesses also thrive on this, such as Cabela's, Bass Pro Shops, taxidermists, as well as other meat houses and processing places. Those that cater to the outdoors, essentially. Let's look at why this has worked and why it has lasted and why it needs to be modernized. It's a user pay public benefit cycle. It's a never-ending beneficial cycle to preserve, conserve, and restore. The Pittman-Robertson Act is great, but it needs to change. Numbers are declining. According to the National Survey of Hunting and Fishing and Wildlife Associated Recreation, we have lost 2.2 million hunters between the years 2011 and 2016 alone. We need to preserve, conserve, and restore. How do we increase those numbers? By having a broad target market, by targeting high school through college-aged kids that have more time and more funding on their hands. Also, we should target youth organizations to help educate our youth in better land management as well as hunting practices and safe and ethical means. We need to make it appealing. We need to think outside the deer blind and start new programs. And through this, it would allow part of the funds to be used for social media. We need to broaden our perspective on who a hunter is and why they hunt. Not everyone hunts just for the heritage purpose or for the sporting purpose. Sometimes it's for the meat. And in recent years, it's become a very big ordeal knowing where your food comes from and it being organic. Hunters need to be ambassadors. We need to invite as well as share. The goal is to each one reach one, and the Pittman-Robertson Act funding can help this on a much larger scale. We have now come full circle. As I have clearly presented, the modernization of the Pittman-Robertson Act can help provide funds for wildlands and wildlife, hunters, and shooting sports. The Pittman-Robertson Act cannot alone solve this, but it can help right here, right now. Your country, your state, your county. Preserve our hunting heritage, preserve the vast wildlands and wildlife in our nation. Support the modernization of the Pittman-Robertson Act, and don't let the last endangered species be the hunter. Thank you.